complete Bay Area news coverage. The KTVU Channel 2 News at 5.
Some Marin County high school students are concerned about the possibility of toxic chemicals in cosmetics, and they're taking their fight to the manufacturers.
My name's Jessica Assaf. I'm 16 years old and I'm a leader in Teens for Safe Cosmetics. In October of last year, we lobbied in Sacramento 3 times.
They held a press conference, they visited with legislators, they came to the hearing.
And these chemicals must be tested for safety.
So they did a lot of different things to kind of break through the noise of Sacramento and be heard by legislators.
The bill had passed through the House of Representatives and it was sitting on the governor's desk. So we decided that we were going to show up in Sacramento at the Capitol building, demand to talk to the governor. The governor was in LA at the time, but we walked through his doors, we sat around a big table and each had 5 minutes to tell her why this bill had to pass.
When the teens came back the second time and the third time, I think legislators took notice and said, well, you know, these kids are really serious about this, they've done their homework, they're thoughtful about it, and they began to listen. So I think that Teens for Safe Cosmetics really had, really contributed to the governor in the end deciding to sign the bill.
Before I became involved in the campaign, I had no idea that teenagers could make a difference at the legislative level, but I feel like we can, if we're educated about what we're doing and we know what's right and we know, what's important to us, we can all come together and really make a difference.
Stop the spray! Stop the spray!
We are crossing the street to Abercrombie & Fitch's flagship store to protest against the toxic spraying of their signature fragrance, Fierce. It contains toxic chemicals, so we're all here standing up for our health, and we're gonna make a difference.
1, 2, 3, 4, toxic chemicals no more.
What I don't like is they're spraying these chemicals in the stores, so any customer that walks in is unknowingly exposed, and they target teen girls, prepubescent girls who are extremely susceptible to chemical exposures, and boys, of course.
I believe cannabis got me into Harvard. I genuinely believe that.
For real?
Yeah. The plant helped me understand myself, understand what I want to contribute to the world, and just go for it.
I'm Jessica Assaf. I'm the founder of Cannabis Feminist, and I'm here to empower women to lead the cannabis industry. If your mom was telling you, oh, use this cannabis, it's really healthy for you, everyone would be open to trying it. The whole idea that women actually have the power to make everyone a little bit more comfortable about cannabis, and also the fact that across all industries, the highest percentage of female executives are in cannabis already, even as an underdeveloped industry. So you see how women are coming together and creating this new model for female leadership. It's really powerful. It's actually a microcosm for what's happening in the industry, which is women are coming together in a new way around cannabis. It is not competitive, it is collaborative. These women, we show up for each other and men, and it's a really beautiful thing. And it's all because we have a deep shared value and belief in the power of the plant.
Mangoes contain terpenes, myrcene actually. Ooh, this is heavy. Yeah. And cannabis also contains terpenes. It's responsible for the flavor actually of the cannabis. And so if you eat a high terpene food before you use cannabis, it extends the euphoric feeling of the high. CBD will be a good place to start because it's the non-psychoactive cannabinoid. So, there's THC, which gives you the high, but CBD just keeps you chill and relaxed. And I feel like we should, we're talking about health, so we should talk about the idea that you actually don't even need to get high to use cannabis and experience the benefits. What is really amazing about this is that we have the opportunity to shift the conversation using our personal narratives as powerful platforms that show that it really isn't a drug, it's a medicine.
There's this interesting energetic shift that's happening where finally I feel like it's time for us to harness the power of the feminine. And a lot of these plants that we're talking about are female. And I started Cannabis Feminist because I believe that their role in helping us is to allow us to step into the feminine energy in all of us and soften us. And I think that'll just help all of us to think about it like that.
A few years ago, after getting my MBA at Harvard, I finally felt confident to follow my heart and pursue cannabis as my career. So I came to LA and started a community called Cannabis Feminist because in my heart, I believe cannabis could be the first billion-dollar industry run by women. And just watching the female entrepreneurs come to life has been one of the best experiences of my life. So what we're dealing with now is layers and layers of consumer confusion while also experiencing a huge surge and buzz around the term CBD without actually understanding what CBD is. In my opinion, we should stop calling it CBD and instead call it a cannabinoid. And the difference is, while I agree that CBD is a primary cannabinoid that we should really focus on, it's one of over 100 active compounds in the plant. And by calling it CBD, we're putting so much focus on a single molecule, we're forgetting about the entourage effect. I think that what's happening is we're almost showing consumers that we know more than we actually do, because there's so much about the plant we do not yet understand. We don't understand how the terpenes and the phenols and the cannabinoids work together and how many receptors we have in our bodies. In fact, I was just in Israel this summer speaking to Dr. Raphael Meshulam, who first discovered the endocannabinoid system and isolated CBD and THC. And when I asked him about a potential third receptor found in the body, which was big news this summer, he was like, honestly, we have no idea how many receptors we have in our system. And part of the beauty and part of the magic with the plant is that there is a lot we do not yet understand. So as experts or advocates or users or patients, we have to do a lot of on-the-ground consumer education, and we have to help people understand what they're actually looking for, which is a cannabinoid-rich extract. It's not just CBD. It's not just an isolated molecule. I think before we start talking about what to invest in, we should talk about the fact that most of us don't invest in ourselves enough. And the issue is that we can say talk to doctors, but doctors aren't taught about the endocannabinoid system in medical school. So the doctors actually aren't the experts in the room. And in my eyes, functional medicine isn't enough until people learn to listen to their bodies before they listen to the advice of doctors.
Managing health doesn't come in a magical pill. Health is beyond how we feel physically in our bodies. Emotional and social factors really matter, and imbalances can cause problems in our physical health. We could all use better tools and support to get out of this silent survival mode. We're finally coming back to this place of understanding and elevating plants, and active plant compounds is almost like the next phase of the wellness industry. I think if you do everything with passion and love, then nothing feels like it's work. It all feels like it's an extension of who you are. And I love doing everything with the best of my ability because that's just how I want to be remembered. So it's that zoomed out perspective too. Yeah. Did I choose the passion or did the passion choose me? Because I was only 13 years old. I was living in the Bay Area. I was living what I thought to be a really healthy lifestyle. I grew up going to the farmer's market every Sunday with my dad. That's how we would get our groceries for the week. And organic was really a way of life. It wasn't a choice. It was ingrained in the lifestyle of Marin County. But when I was 13 years old, I vividly remember walking down to the kitchen one morning and seeing the local newspaper, which was the Marin Independent Journal, was the name of it. There was an article on the front page that said that the breast cancer rates in my community had risen 60% in 8 years, and no one knew why. And I looked at that statistic and I thought, what is going on in my hometown? Because we're so healthy, we eat organic, but yet why are the breast cancer rates rising? And I, as a young person, had seen so many people in my life, their parents go through cancer treatment. I mean, you can see this, you see the pain. And I looked at that and I said, how is this happening here? And I felt this inherent desire to do something about it. I can't describe it. It was like a spark went off inside of me. And when I was 13 years old, I started calling up the hospitals because I figured, okay, I want to help change the statistics around cancer. I have to go to doctors. So I would call oncologists at UCSF Hospital and say, what can I do? How can I get involved as a 13-year-old?
I was going to say 13.
Exactly. I mean, I didn't have a medical degree, so I didn't really have a lot to offer them. But one doctor, Dr. Arthur Ablin, he said, get involved in a nonprofit. So I started doing my research, and I found a nonprofit called the Marin Cancer Project. It's now called Search for the Cause. And the whole idea of this nonprofit was to look at lifestyle choices, environmental factors, and basically figure out why are cancer rates rising? Because now I think the statistic is 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women will develop cancer in their lifetimes. And it wasn't always this way. So I got involved, and one of the things we did is we went door to door. We did a survey because we needed to understand all of the potential factors contributing to the high cancer rates. So we went to 100,000 households in one day, and we asked Marin residents a series of questions around their jobs, their lifestyle choices. There was one question on the survey about beauty products, personal care products, cosmetics. And as a 13-year-old, I had just started wearing makeup. And to me, makeup was a rite of passage. The idea that you could cover up your zits and make your eyes look bigger and even go get a manicure with your mom, which as a bonding activity. I looked at that question and I said, what do cosmetics have to do with cancer? Because in my opinion, what is on the shelf should be safe. And I went home and I did my own research, and I learned that essentially it's a loophole in federal law that products on the market in cosmetics and personal care products, they're deemed safe until proven guilty. So they're innocent until proven guilty. So what that means is that basically most of the products on shelves that we put on our skin every single day do not have any pre-market safety testing or approval required to be sold to consumers. And as a result of that, there are a lot of industrial compounds linked to cancer and reproductive harm, also neurotoxicity, in the products that we use every single day. And Europe and other countries have banned thousands of chemicals, whereas the US, the FDA, has only banned around 8 or 12, a dozen or so. So yes, most of the time when you put a product on your skin, it won't necessarily cause cancer. But the issue is that the skin is the body's biggest organ, and these chemicals are accumulating in our fat tissues, in our bodies. You know this, but for me, it was a wake-up call because I said, wait a second, all of these magazines are telling us to wear products that are potentially harming us. Why is no one talking about this issue? And it's a universal issue for anyone that brushes their teeth or takes showers, which hopefully are most people, wear deodorant, put on cosmetics. Why is it that we're choosing beauty over health? The issue that really strikes me is why do these companies have safer formulations for other countries, but here, because we have less regulations, we are getting the more harmful product? Because what that says to me is it is possible to make a product a little bit safer for European countries, and this is true of Johnson & Johnson, L'Oreal, all of these big companies. They already know how to make a safer product. It's just obviously cheaper to use the industrial compounds because companies are meant to sell products and provide purpose and give you, a larger vision for life. It shouldn't be the company telling you that their products are safe. We need third-party validation. So we believe that we are truly creating an industry-defining set of standards for other companies to follow, and that's everything from being a B Corp and a public benefit corporation to being the first CBD brand that's verified by the Environmental Working Group, the same organization that tested my blood and urine when I was 15 years old. How I know is now really, and they have Skin Deep, which is one of the only databases available besides, Think Dirty and others to really understand product safety from a third-party unbiased perspective. We're also certified glyphosate residue-free by the Detox Project. Again, glyphosate is not something you think about when you think about skincare, but if we're using plants, and all plants in the US, a lot of them are sprayed with Roundup, and glyphosate is a byproduct of Roundup, you have to test for that. Putting a QR code on every box so you can pull up the batch test results. Just really building this with transparency and healthy and safety as our number 1 and number 2 and 3 priorities. So it's been so incredible to just build this the right way with the right intentions. And when you have health as the top of your hierarchy of needs, and every decision is so easy because it's not about profit. It's about protecting the health of the consumer first. And also even teaching our investors what that means. So we're so excited to have a line of 16 products across 3 categories: skincare, body care, and supplements.
And we use CBD from hemp, no THC, but we also believe that CBD is almost the gateway herb. In the same way that people thought marijuana was the gateway drug, maybe CBD, because it's so hot, can open up the door for other functional botanicals to be understood and used. So just as we elevate CBD, we also elevate other active botanical plants, therapeutic plants that can help you feel better in your body.
Hi, everyone. My name's Jessica Assaf. I'm the co-founder and chief education officer of Prima. We are a certified B Corp and purpose-driven brand making skincare, supplements, and body care with hemp CBD and functionally innovative botanical ingredients. And our goal is really to target stress and be an anti-stress brand. And I believe food is medicine, and there's so many parallels with cannabinoids, clean products, so really excited to have this conversation. I also am very inspired by where food and cannabis started and where it's going. I was a part of the very early cannabis industry, just growing up in San Francisco. You know, it was really in the air that I breathed just walking down the street. But I remember going to the dispensaries very, very early days, and it was a bunch of sugar Rice Krispie treats, stale, horribly formulated. I mean, I still ate them because it was the only thing available. And that was it. And there are a lot of parallels between where the dispensary model started in terms of product assortment, what consumers were looking for, and where we've been with the food industry. You know, for so long we thought fat was the enemy and sugar was the solution. And there were tons of preservatives in products, and people didn't know what to look for. And I finally feel like we're getting back to the source, back to the realness, back to what matters. People caring about knowing where the food is grown, who's behind it. And similarly with cannabis, you know, just the fact that people care about the people behind the brands is a huge win, and it's hugely different from where we started. So I just feel like the soul is coming back, but we're also going back to the roots. If you look at the CBD and the cannabis market in general, last time I checked, about 40% of the market is made up of gummies. And let's just dissect this gummy format for a second. So inherently, most gummies have refined sugar, an animal byproduct like gelatin, so like cow hooves or pig hooves, and artificial colors, flavors, dyes. And why? Are we really at a place in society where that's the best we can do? I don't think so. I think that we can do better. And we're talking about a plant compound. You know, CBD comes from this therapeutic plant. So why are we disguising a candy as a supplement and undermining the potential of this highly therapeutic plant compound? You know, cannabinoids have anti-inflammatory properties. Sugar is one of the biggest inflammatories that we have. And so it just didn't make sense to us that consumers have accepted this format, businesses don't think that they can innovate and do better, and we just decided to do that. And so we came up with a chew. It's called Chill Out, and there is no refined sugar, no animal byproducts, it's fully vegan, no artificial colors or dyes, it's all plant-derived. It also has a patent-pending delivery system, and it works instantly. It starts to break down as you chew it. And so we just decided to do it. I mean, it's not rocket science. I really wish, this is a little ethereal, but I want people to realize how good they can feel. I think most of us have accepted this baseline of health and wellness. Yes, I'm stressed. Yes, I have inflammation. Yes, I can't sleep, but that's just life. And I think what these botanicals are teaching us, and even the idea that you can choose a CBD drink over an alcoholic beverage at a party and make an intentional decision based on how you want to feel, I think we have the opportunity now to ask people, first of all, how are you doing really, which is something we always ask at Prima. If you check in with your physical, social, mental well-being, how are you doing really? And what do you need to feel better because you can? I think that so many of us have settled on alcohol or other substances as the solution, but a lot of times you're just using those to numb what's really there. And I think if we can be more honest and open and realize that we need a toolbox of solutions, all of the products in this room from the brands here, that should be in everyone's toolbox. Sometimes you need a patch, sometimes you need a drink, but
you know, sometimes you might not need the beer in front of you, and you can decide, I want to sleep well tonight, so I'm going to use a sleep-based cannabinoid product. I think we really have the opportunity to change the future for people and help them realize that while we all are stressed, stress is an epidemic, we're all dealing with these things, these products can really transform how we feel and at our fingertips. Like, we don't need to go to the doctor to get prescribed something. We can go to a D2C website and get an amazing elixir, amazing soft gel or chew, and feel better that night. I think it's just a beautiful thing that we have the opportunity in this lifetime to reclaim our health and happiness with plants, with benefits.